Hi, I'm Alex Innecco and this is ECAI's Musical Encyclopedia. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, please, I need you to do that. Today's expression is symphonic poem, a poem of music. Well, it appears that Franz Liszt, Hungarian pianist and composer, invented the term symphonic poem. At least he called one of his pieces that. And what did he want with that? A symphonic poem is generally, and oversimplifying it actually, it's a symphony in one single movement. So why it is oversimplifying? Because it's hard to pinpoint what exactly a symphonic poem is. But generally, we can think about that. A symphony in one single movement with generally extra musical elements. So, for example, Smetana's Die Moldau, the Moldau, it's about a river in the Czech Republic, and Smetana wants you to imagine the river from where it's born until where it dies in the ocean or another river. I forget where it is that it dies anyway, but you know, the path the river takes in the Czech Republic, that's what Smetana wants you to think about. It's a symphonic poem. In Brazil, we have O Irapuru by Villa-Lobos, which is a beautiful symphonic poem about a bird, O Irapuru, and he later transformed it into a ballet, but it generally is not dance, so generally it is a symphonic poem. And then we have Ottorino Respighi's The Pines of Rome in 4 movements. What? Didn't you say the symphonic poem is one movement? Yes, generally. But see what the problem is with when you say it's always like this? Respighi wanted it to be called a symphonic poem in 4 movements. Why didn't he call it a symphony? Because he didn't want it to be called a symphony. He wanted it to be called a symphonic poem. There you go. Also, generally, there's an interesting characteristic of the symphonies, especially in the classical and romantic periods. The first movement of a symphony generally follows a form, and in the classical period, it will be the sonata allegro form. Okay, that we talk about this here in the encyclopedia. But anyway, the classical symphony goes, first movement is a sonata allegro form, the second movement is a slow movement, the third movement generally a minuet, the fourth movement is a scherzo or a rondo, a faster movement. But anyway, it follows a pattern. The symphonic poem, the symphonic poem does not follow a pattern, okay? It just goes straight from point A to point B without thinking too much about what form am I doing here, okay? It's also a result of the Romantic period, when people wanted to give names to things that didn't exist before. So, for example, what is an overture? For me, when you think Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture, for me that's a symphonic poem, okay? The 1812 is a symphonic poem, in my opinion. Or the Romeo and Juliet overture by Tchaikovsky is a symphonic poem. Because the 1812 overture is not an overture to anything. It doesn't open a ballet, it doesn't open an opera, it doesn't precede anything. It's a piece by itself. Why did he call it an overture? Because he wanted to. It's a symphonic poem, in my modest opinion, okay? And also in the Romantic period, there's the Capriccio, for example. It has nothing to do with the symphonic poem, but what is a Capriccio? There isn't a clear definition. A nocturne by Chopin, for example. What is a nocturne? There aren't clear definitions of these terms because they want just to evoke extra musical elements. When Chopin thought about a nocturne, he wanted to evoke the night and nightly feelings. That's all. So when Liszt invents the name symphonic poem, He wants to give a symphonic movement the weight of literature, which in the 19th century was much more important than music, believe it or not. Okay, literature was the most important, was the pure art. And then music accompanied, followed it. Okay, anyway, there you go. Did it help or did I make it more complicated? Okay, anyway, whatever. If you think it's worth it, subscribe to my channel, please. Go ahead, do it. And look at other videos in English here, okay? Thank you very much. Goodbye. I'm Alex Innecco, and this is ECAI's Musical Encyclopedia. Bye.